Hello and welcome back to the Plocast. Today we are doing our breakdown slash review of Chapter 15 of The Mandalorian, which is Episode 7 on the season. And we know this one's coming a little bit late. I'm sorry to the 5 of you that watch these episodes, but that's okay. This one will either be up when it is up or the day of, so it's either going to be Thursday or Friday. But yeah, last episode was pretty good. I know I've seen it multiple times since it came out, and I know Paul has as well. So let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about, we got to bring up some Boba Fett stuff. I mean,
oh yes,
come on, like how can you not? Do you want to take it away there a little bit?
I want to come out and say it right off the bat. I was right. He did not have a dad body. It was indeed just the robes all folded up or whatever. And he comes out looking like a total bamf. New painted armor. I think, did he have more armor on the legs or did he just repaint the knee pads?
I think he just repicked because it's still like a combination of like the robes and stuff too.
Whatever, but still, the robes, he had them like, I guess, more fitting well. It looks so good. I honestly think I like it just the same as his, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi appearances. I think it's the black underneath that looks so good with that green. I don't know what it is. Total badass.
For me, it's between this and Empire Strikes Back, the look. Because Return of the Jedi, I didn't really... Compared to, because Return of the Jedi is a little bit different. He's got the maroon gauntlets and like the bluish yellow jetpack. I like the Empire look a little bit more than that. And with his paint in Mandalorian, it looks great. I would have just preferred just a little bit of wear on it. Like he wasn't able to get everything out. Like if there was just a little bit of scratches, but it looks great.
I loved it. I was all for it because it made. I'm pretty sure, not confirmed, but I feel like it's a callback to those original 1970 toys. Where he had the launcher on his back.
I got a little one right here.
There you go. Exactly. I absolutely love. I love that the paint was like it was almost matte, like you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I thought it was outstanding.
Upon rewatch, there was a couple of things I actually noticed. His blaster, it looks like it's the Return of the Jedi one, but obviously that one got sliced in half. But the stock and the scope on it looks like the Return of the Jedi one, because the Empire one is like a long, like thinner scope, and then Return of the Jedi is kind of the shorter, thicker one. It kind of looks like that with just like a different front end attached. So I don't know if he just got a new rifle like in the same company, same model type thing, or if he repaired it with some other mishmash.
The EE3. I actually know what the rifle's called.
Yeah. Battlefront 2. I remember like every
yes,
time
sir.
It loads out with it, it's got the name. And for once, I have a timestamp.
Let's
go. We're getting real in depth here. In the episode, goodness. I noticed he's back to the green jetpack, the all green one from Empire. And originally, I was like, oh, so he must have fixed up his jet, painted over it. But at 4 minutes 34 seconds, in the background, up against a pillar, we see the old jetpack, or I guess an original trilogy, it would be the newer one because it's Return of the Jedi. But the blue jetpack with the hole in it that's got the
one got
repair. Yeah, it's leaning against a pillar in the Slave One, and it's missing the missile, obviously, and it's not painted green. So I noticed that, and I was like, oh, so he must have replaced it. Now I don't know if the green one he's got now is the same green one from before, because he could have found a different one and painted it green. But the Return of the Jedi one is not the one he's wearing in the episode, because it's on the Slave One against a wall. I just wanted to point that out because I saw it and I was like, oh,
that is an excellent find. I did not.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't see it on my first 2 watch. I watched it 3 times when we watched it, and then 2 times after. That was something I saw on my 3rd watch through. Also, just for some general Mandalorian stuff, not just Din or Boba in general. Obviously, Mayfeld had a line about Mandalore and Coruscant, and then he says both those planets don't exist anymore. So we know that Mandalore's gone. I think that was confirmed earlier at some other point, but I don't remember. But we know that Mandalore is in fact gone
I have a
somehow.
question about that. Is it
Mhm.
because I know it's been a wasteland, like, and they only had those
Right.
dome cities? Is it because he said Mandalore and Alderaan? Alderaan is straight up
Yeah.
by like
Mhm.
not anything. Is that the same with
I meant Alderaan. I said
Mandalore?
Coruscant. I meant Alderaan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Um,
is he talking about like just after the Civil Wars or whatever, or the Great Purge, that it's
I
just a ruined city now, or like?
I think they said it at some like it was in some sort of book or show or something. It might have been in Rebels at some. I don't remember.
Gotcha.
But he didn't change the meaning. Like he was when he was talking about Alderaan and Mandalore, he said they're both gone. I like, well, this one's gone and this one's not. He said they're both gone.
That's
I
yeah.
remember hearing something of what happened to Mandalore, but I don't remember what it was.
Gotcha.
Also, Mayfeld bringing up some good points about Mando's helmet rule. He was like, "Is it that you can't take off the helmet, or is it that people can't see your face? Because there is a difference." And I actually I've thought about that before, and I was like, "Well, why?" And then they addressed it, so that was interesting. What are your thoughts on this rule? What do you think about it?
I have a couple thoughts on this, and this is something I was thinking about too. But I think I think Mando doesn't even know what he believes. I think because he is part of the cult. We found
Mhm.
out from Bo-Katan that he's kind of like a Strand type of
Right.
Mandalorian. But like, I feel like he's just raised. You can't take your helmet off. You can't take your helmet. Can't do it. And now he's seeing other Mandalorians like Boba, like Bo-Katan,
Mhm.
who are doing it, and like he's seeing his worldview. We're seeing it slowly change, and
Yeah.
I think the most important part is it's changing for Grogu, because he definitely wouldn't have just done it if he didn't have to. If he wasn't the case, like we saw him, he knew he had to take off the helmet on the monitor thing, but he waited till the last second because he still was like grappling with it.
Yeah.
And the inconsistency with the rule, like, all right, can I not see your face? Can you not take off the helmet? I
Right.
think Mando straight up just doesn't know. I think that's something he would have to ask. I guess the armorer would be the expert
Yeah.
of the group.
I guess.
But
Well, we know he can take it off, just not in the presence of other people, because like he has to eat and like sleep and stuff. It just
yeah,
can you not take it off in front of people, or can you not show your face in front of people?
yeah,
Because if
like
it's you can't take it off in front of people, he broke that when he was wearing the driver armor.
yep.
Um, but still interesting, I guess. Technically, since the people in the building don't know he's a Mandalorian, he didn't really, but he also kind of did. And of course, Mayfeld saw what he looks like, and we all already knew what he looks like, but it's still like, oh my, it still looks so weird when he takes it off.
Now I want to address a point because I know Pedro Pascal. I love the actor, but he like people are calling it whining, but I know he did specifically ask for more FaceTime, like on camera. Do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, yeah.
Do you think this thing, like them doing it, do you think it's kind of forced since he's asking for that, or was it like, okay, it makes sense in the story?
I think it would be forced if they did it like at every episode, and if they did it for like no reason, like if it's just him sitting by a rock eating soup or something, and it's
And he takes it
just
off.
like 2 minutes of him just being unmasked. I don't think it would work. It would seem kind of forced. It could still kind of work, like as a character moment, showing him being himself for once, and then it goes back on and the episode starts or something like that. Um, but I think it's more effective when the only time you see it is like a big like a moment where you're like, oh, this is something's going down. Because season one, when he showed his face, it was like, oh my god, is he gonna die? Is somebody gonna see? And this one, it was like, oh my god, are these Imperials gonna figure out what's happening? Is he gonna get the coordinates? Um, I definitely think it's because Pedro Pascal wanted more screen time of his face, as any actor would,
Mhm.
especially if something this popular in Star Wars. If you're
Huge.
gonna be in Star Wars and it's a live action thing, you're gonna want people to see your face at some point. Uh, but I feel like it worked, for the story. Like, while it was happening, I definitely wasn't I mean, I thought, but the biggest thing in my mind wasn't, "Oh, well, they're just doing that because Pedro Pascal won screen time." Like, it was I thought about it, but it wasn't like the big like, the thing in the front of my mind. Because for the most part, I was focused on what was happening. It made sense with the plot. It didn't go on for too long, and he did good. He acted well with his face, which is something which you wouldn't think about normally, but in a show like this, where the main character you don't see their face, there's only like a small amount of time you can look at for their physical face acting. So it definitely probably is because Pedro wanted screen time, but they did it well, and I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I see a lot. I saw, or I guess saw a lot of people complaining about it, like it was forced. But I think, kind of like you said, that it was like a vital scene, and you could see that Pedro Pascal acted it well. Like Mando was visibly distressed. Like they had to make up the thing that he was deaf because like he didn't know how to handle himself being seen out of the mask. And I think for that reason, like for me, when I was first viewing it, I wasn't thinking about, oh, this is definitely him wanting to.
Right.
I was just like, okay, it was perfectly fine for me. It wasn't forced at all. It was only after I saw some comments, I was like, okay, maybe that is the reason. But no, I think the acting and like again, like they literally had to say, no, he's deaf. Where Mando is usually a sharp guy, he's usually quick witted. Like he knows, like he's in charge usually of conversations. But now, like he's just so out of his element, out of his shell,
Right.
out of his helmet.
Literally.
But yeah, I think it worked.
Yeah. Some other things about Mandalorians in general. Boba, when they were trying to pick on who would go inside to access the terminal, Boba was like, let's just say some of them might recognize my face. You could think of that as, oh, Imperials, maybe they know what Boba Fett looks like or something. But the big thing, a lot of these Imperial, officers were probably officers in the Republic, and they definitely know what a clone looks like, which is what I think the line was meant to be. He's like, yeah, some of them are gonna. They're like, wait a minute, there were hundreds of you in my command on a Venator like about a couple years ago, because the officers, a lot of them are old, so they've been in service for a long time. Chances are, and Tarkin even he was an
I was
officer
going
in
to
the
say that.
Republic.
Yeah. We saw him in the Clone Wars.
They definitely would recognize a clone. So I thought that was a fun line. One thing I thought was funny is in the react when you were talking about how Mayfeld and Mando were in the tank or in the transport. You were talking about his posture, how he was like sitting perfectly straight up, and like
Yeah.
he looked like stiff. It was that was funny. But it's little bits and pieces that show his culture and how he goes about his his way and his life.
This is the way.
Another thing I thought about, I can't remember if I was watching a video and I heard this or if I just thought about it, but so Boba is a Mandalorian. Uh, is it passed down? We know Django was a foundling, but Boba was a clone and in the war his whole life. So is the status of Mandalorian just passed down to your children? Like, is that
Yeah.
how it works?
I feel like this is another thing I'm not sure because I see a lot of people saying Boba is a Mandalorian. I think Django 200% is like no question, but I don't personally in my headcanon, I guess I don't think Boba is. I feel like he could have been. I feel like the family line thing is perfectly fine, but just seeing Boba in the Clone Wars and like now. He
As a
said,
bounty hunter too.
yeah, I feel like he like, all right, I don't want to be a Mandalorian. I'll take the armor, but I'm gonna do my own
Right.
thing. And because we see him, he doesn't interact with any other Mandalorians. He's not, trying to reclaim it or like fighting for them. He even said when he came back in episode 5, 6, when they were on the Seeing Stone. But he was kind of like, I do my own thing. I forget what he said, or he's like, I don't answer to anyone, type of thing. When he was asking for the armor and like, so I honestly like, I don't think he is a Mandalorian. But I see a lot of like channels, like you said, people are saying like, okay, Django and Boba, they're both Mandalorians. But something I'm shaky on.
I don't know because I think it was Jeremy Johns I was watching and he was talking about it. If by lineage, if Boba is a Mandalorian because of Django being one and it's passed down, would that make Grogu a Jedi Mandalorian?
I would love to see it, and I think Jedi Mandalorian because who it was Vizsla, right? Who was the
Yeah,
first
something Tar Vizsla or
Tar Vizsla? Yeah, I'm pretty
something like
sure.
that.
But that dynamic of because I think Grogu has I guess 3 paths: light side, dark side, but then Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Him choosing Mandalorian, I think would be
yeah,
awesome. He is like it's gonna. He ages so slow that might be
yeah,
forever to get to. So we might not see it, but I think that is another like really cool thing to think about.
yeah. Because in Mandalorian culture, it's your family, your like offspring can be natural, or they can just be someone you took in, like a foundling you took in. So in Mandalorian culture, Grogu would be Din's son. Like they would
Yeah,
be legitimate family. And
yeah,
if the rule goes that your your children are Mandalorians because you are with Jango and Boba, that would make Grogu a Mandalorian Jedi of Yoda's species, which is like I don't like that's like the rarest thing to be. Like
yeah.
it's insane to
Um,
think about.
I
Um,
like that like kind of I guess part of Mandalore culture or
mhm.
Mandalorian culture because it just makes so much sense and it really makes me like feel so immersed in the universe because like this is a warring people. They
Yeah,
really go out, they're conquerors. Like Death Watch is all about reclaiming true Mandalore of being fighters and
right.
conquerors. So it would make sense that if they're taking over lands, they would want to adopt people in. They would want to bring in other strong people to be like bolster their forces and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of so like Mandalorian isn't a race, it's kind of a group of people. It just makes so
Creed.
much sense. Exactly. And
Mhm.
like and we're seeing it now with Django, Boba, maybe even Grogu, and all the foundlings. Din himself is a foundling. So
Yeah.
I think that's awesome and just a good point to bring
Yeah.
up.
I just want to say real quick, sorry if you hear any background noise. My grandparents are yelling at the dog in the background. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It'll probably be there very subtly. So, did you have anything else you want to talk about regarding Boba or Mando or just Mandalorian culture in general before we
uh,
move on to the episode
I want
itself?
to. We probably are going to talk about it again, but the is it seismic charge? I forget what they
I
call
think
it.
it's seismic
Sonic
charge,
imploder,
sonic.
something like that. Either way, that was my Pog moment of the year. Absolutely loved that. I knew immediately as soon as he flipped the switch, I was like, "Yep, I've seen episode 2.
Yeah,
Um, I will never get
I think
tired of
both
hearing that
terms
sound."
are right.
Okay,
Yeah, I, I'm
but
pretty because
that was
I've seen it called both, and I think
yeah.
on Wikipedia it's like it's called seismic charge.
Okay,
Um, So the episode itself, we have Mayfeld and Mando in this, in this transport trying to get the Rhydonium back to the Empire. Rhydonium is a thing that we have seen before, or at least I have, and
yeah,
there's a couple times it's in Rebels. I won't say what, but if you know Rebels, then you know what I'm talking about. It's also on Abafar, which is the planet that uh, Commando Gregor was on in the Clone Wars. That was what was in those canisters, and it's what the Separatists used to just pack that Venator full of those. I'm pretty sure anyway that those containers were Rhydonium that they were going to use to blow up the meeting that was happening, the wars, the strategy meeting, whatever. That Venator was full of Rhydonium, and there's a couple other times that is in Rebels and by retcon, not retcon, by I guess proxy would also mean Clone Wars. There's actually I think there's some on the Anaxis base in the Bad Batch arc too. But just it's just showing that it's cool that they're bringing stuff back instead of just like getting new stuff is cool, but when they put in a little bit of old stuff every once in a while that reminds you that this is one big universe, which is really cool. Okay, so some more things I wanted to just talk about. How the people see the New Republic and the Empire. We had that line by Mayfeld where it's like, it doesn't matter who you are to these people. To them, you're just invaders on their land or something. And there's that shot of that kid like staring down Mayfeld, like he's like, "You, like, who do you think you are? Get off my property." But it's interesting to think that with the Empire gone, doesn't mean the galaxy is automatically just full of peat because whatever system that replaces it has to be good. And it seems like, at least from context that we've gotten so far, that the New Republic isn't perfect and that it's not the solution that everybody was hoping for. If you wanted to say anything on that.
This is another point that like it just makes the world just feel so fleshed out and real to me. Like I was saying with the Mandalorian culture, the idea that like they're in like the outer rim, like these are like people. It was, what was the name of the planet again? Malcor.
Yeah, not Malachor.
No, Maycor. It was Maycor. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it's a planet that, again, like Mando said, there's nothing on there. It's far out. Like the New Republic and even the Empire was really in the core. We saw the capitals in Coruscant, but like it just makes it like people aren't going to want some foreign, like far away. Like, okay, it's kind of like how like like out in the country they're like, oh, these city folk don't know how we do it. It's kind of straight up the same thing, and it just makes so much sense where these people are like, I don't care who you are. Okay, you could be a New Republic. Get off my land. I just want to farm and just do me. And it just makes so much sense. Like I think the line from Mayfeld where he says, you mentioned it, where New Republic, Empire, it's all the same.
They don't care. Yeah, it's the same.
And it's just a way that like it just deepens the lore of the universe. I guess. I really liked it.
Morak.
What did I say? Maycor or something?
Yeah, you're like Maycor. That's it, definitely.
All right.
Morak. I had to look it up. I did not know.
Fun facts: I am awful with names.
That's a very fun fact.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't see a lot of people talking about that I thought was kind of cool was we see shore troopers again, and just those. I was like seeing any variant of trooper, storm, clone, whatever. Troopers are just awesome. The shore troopers coming back was cool. Just the general atmosphere of the like, you kind of feel like a little bit more connected to these stormtroopers. They're kind of humanized because Mayfeld and Mando are rolling in and they're all like, yeah, they're cheering and they're like patting each other on the back and like yelling and stuff. And they get out and they're saluting and like fist bump or whatever, You're just kind of like, oh, I kind of feel bad that all these guys are about to get shot and blown up. And that's exactly what happened. We were like actually happy to see the Empire come and save the day. Like the TIE fighters were coming down and we were like, yes, TIE fighters.
First time I ever cheered for TIE fighters doing a straight
Exactly. Yeah. And like the fact that they have a mess hall, and they're just chatting with each other and they're at the end of the day, they are still people. They may have been like conditioned, or at least the troopers, but they're still people. They still have lives. They still, talk and have relationships and stuff.
Worth mentioning, their captain, he buys them a drink. He's a total scumbag, as we find out. But still, it gives them a human side that, like, oh, good job, boys. Let me buy you a drink. We'll share lunch together.
Okay, so Imperials being humanized. There's a little cut there. We had some background noise. May or may not have been loud enough to get into your ears. So trimmed all that out. Last we were talking about was, the Imperial officers are, buying people drinks and, how the Empire seems more humanized and then makes you feel a little bit more emotion when they all get blown to smithereens about 10 minutes later.
Yep.
One thing you mentioned that I wanted to talk about was, how does the face scan thing work at this terminal? Like it needs to scan a face, but it can scan any face?
You know what? Because in I think it was the reaction or initial thoughts, whatever, I was having a lot of trouble. I'm like, wait, this makes no sense. Yeah, but I thought about it a lot.
Okay.
So here's what I've taken out of it, and this is going to be a whole breakdown. All right, quick rant. So at first I was like, all right, it's going to be a database with some registry, and we know Mayfeld was Empire, so he's in that registry. This is what my initial thoughts. So my initial thought is like, all right, scan it. Oh, Trooper TK2471. Okay, he's good. But, however, that's not true. The only thing it's scanning for is if you're on any registry.
Right.
Now, we know Mando is not, just like his ship wasn't, which is why they used it on Season 1. Remember the heist? So he wouldn't show up. That's why Cara Dune couldn't go in, because she's on the New Republic registry. Yeah. That's why
they would recognize Boba.
Fennec and Boba. Fennec was
been on there.
So these people aren't Empire. They wouldn't be like a TK number, but they would say, okay, no, she's New Republic. Sound the alarm.
I guess it would be like they don't have every single trooper in the database. It's just another thing I thought about was it could just be looking to make sure that it's like an organic being or like a human if the Empire is pure only humans. Like if to make sure it's not like a droid trying to get in or something like that.
That's
but
true.
What you're saying definitely makes sense because it would just check for what you aren't, basically.
Exactly. And another big point is the stick. It's actually, if you ever notice in the
they have two little in the those are their
it's like an officer stick.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is enough rank, and then all it checks for is if like, all right, someone didn't steal this.
Yeah, like if you're a person.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I thought about that a lot.
I guess picture you like laying in bed, like, but how did he get?
Dude, I was like,
just like
mulling it over. I was like, why? He's definitely not Empire. Why would he come up? Like, it has to be Mayfeld. That doesn't make sense. I was like, no. But
yeah. They actually use those cylinders in Rebels a little bit. We just see them like for clearance, to get in. So definitely those. Also, Operation Cinder was brought up. That is, I'm pretty sure anyway, that's like Palpatine's like post-death like not proxy, what's the word?
Backup plan? Emergency.
Yeah, but there's like a word for it, like contingency for if he dies. Yes. It's like
that is the right word.
I forget what, like it blew up or like
I know
caused problems on planets or something.
Battlefront 2 with the Inferno Squad was all about this. With Iden Versio, it's Operation Cinder because basically Palpatine goes, well, if I can't be an Empire, no one can. And he just starts blowing up like natural resource planets and just demolishing like any hopes of forming a new government type of thing.
Wasn't there like they were doing something with like satellites or like a lasers or something? There was like a satellite array that they were using.
And it like shoots down. Yeah.
I don't think it like blew up the planets though. It like did. I don't think I played Battlefront 2's campaign. I think I might have watched a walkthrough or something. But
I'm near certain it stripped away like all natural resources. So if it like it was like forest, it like stripped it away. Don't quote me on it, but I do know what it's.
We have the resources. I'm going to use my handy dandy Google machine.
We'll have Craig pull it up, right?
Oh yeah, Craig, go ahead, pull it up.
Craig, pull it up.
Definitely not me typing right now.
But speaking to Battlefront 2, I was one of the many people who just got it and went right to multiplayer. So I know a little bit just because like I want to know the Star Wars lore, but I'm not 100% sure. But when they did say Operation Cinder, that was like switch turned on.
It was recognized that something was coming.
That was one of those you said the thing moments.
Okay. According to Wikipedia and fandom.com. Operation Cinder was the code name for the orbital bombardment campaign devised by Galactic Emperor Darth Sidious, who sought to punish the Galactic Empire for failing to prevent his death. His posthumous instructions were relayed to loyal Imperial officers by Sentinel messenger droids. They targeted various planets across the galaxy, including Burnin Khan, which Mayfeld did. They were talking about Burnin Khan, Candovant, Abednedo, Commoner, and Necronus, as well as Vardos, a world known for its loyalty to the Empire, and the Emperor's homeworld of Naboo. Here it is. Although Naboo was saved during the Battle of Theed, Vardos was devastated by satellites that ravaged its ecological balance. So, I guess like causing, like I guess climate, like disasters type thing. I guess like natural disasters, and like just basically just ruining a planet.
Yes.
So pretty, and that's why Mayfeld was so upset about it. He was like in there shivering and just like furious that this guy was part of it. And eventually Mayfeld had enough and just shot him.
Yeah. And that I want to get into that scene.
Yes,
because
I was hoping you would segue right into that.
Yeah. That scene was outstanding. I really like that scene. It's just Bill Burr, he's a comic. I'm not even sure if he's acted in anything. I haven't seen him in anything else. But in this scene,
Pete Davidson's movie, the SNL guy who's
King of Staten Island.
Yeah, he was in that.
Okay.
He was the stepdad, or
nice,
like the dad guy.
Either way, though, absolutely killed it. I think he stole the scene, even though Valen Hess, the Imperial officer, he was so good. He was absolutely, but just the look of it was like a look of disgust. Then, like you could see him like contemplation. Then you could also see him like, okay, I'm deciding, I'm pulling out my blaster and I'm shooting this dude right in the chest.
Yeah, even Gideon, he looked over and he shook his head. He's like, "Don't do it."
And it was only Valen Hess and his southern accent speaking, and like the way he speaks. There's just something about Imperial officers, whether it's the British, like their accents and the way they speak, so good. But you just see Bill Burr's face, and he killed. So much praise to him. I absolutely love that.
You could see him like physically shivering and like.
Oh, it looked like he was about to throw up.
Insane. I even said it, even though we couldn't hear it because I didn't record the audio, like an idiot.
Yeah,
like he looks like he's about to throw up or something like that.
Yeah, and that whole scene, like,
really good.
I felt like I was like right there with them. Like it was just so tense. The music you mentioned too, which again, the audio got cut up, but the music just added to it. And even Pedro Pascal, who was kind of a bystander in that whole confrontation,
he's like looking back and forth,
and just so many levels of just fear. Like, oh, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, the officer kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, like Dutch Vanderlyn from Red Dead Redemption or something. Like, but like in that deep, like, you don't know what you're talking about, boy, or something.
I love a villain, I guess, kind of like a kind of Hannibal Lecter villain where you can just hear him talk and he almost wins you over with the words he chooses. Now this guy Valen Hess, he's talking about for the Empire, like he's talking about lives served, like awful things he's saying, but I'm sitting there like, oh, it just tenses me up because I know he's a bad guy. And outstanding scene. 10 out of 10. Probably my favorite scene in Mandalorian so far. It's just quality alone.
Yeah. It was this episode in our ranking is going to be pretty high up there. Just as a spoiler now.
And the funny thing is, a lot of people were calling this a filler episode because technically, like
it kind of is.
It kind of could be, but just the quality. So good. So good.
And like at the end there when they said, "Oh, it sucks that Mayfeld died in that explosion," and he's like, "If you're letting me go, I'm gonna go because
can I go now?"
I thought that was cool. I'm glad they didn't have to take him back because in my eyes at least he redeemed himself. And he even blew up the Rhydonium because he was like he just hated the Empire that much. So I'm glad he's just out there doing his own thing now.
It was a nice little like redemption arc, just short, sweet, is awesome.
And then of course we had the Liam Neeson kind of taken thing from Mando there at the end, reciting Moff Gideon's exact words right back to him. And when I saw it, I was reminded, and there's a bunch of memes of it already. I was just reminded of like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are. Which is funny because Liam Neeson is Qui-Gon Jinn. Boom, connection. You're welcome.
Yep. Shout out, bringing it back to episode 1, just like that.
Boom. But that was a great scene.
That's Mando just coming up, taking a big fat gun and slamming it on the table, and he's like, "Yep, I'm here for business, buddy."
Yeah, I like how he remembered the exact words that were used.
Eerie. We both knew right away. It's like that's exactly what Moff Gideon said.
One thing that people were complaining about that though is like now because he did that, Gideon knows that they know where he is. So they've kind of lost the element of surprise a little bit, I feel. Or that at least that's what other people have been saying. I don't know, because Gideon knows that they're onto him, basically. They're, coming after him. That he didn't just get away and it's over. And you kind of get rid of that element by sending the message like that. But on the other hand, it's, you're threatening him. You're trying to show him that you don't know who you're messing with. We will come back for, we're not giving up like that. So either way, I think it would, you're going to lose something.
Yeah, I think it definitely, like, they could have traced him. Like, they're going to see that this base exploded. They're going to think, oh, it's right by them. Either way, they'll somehow find out. They could have kept more of a surprise, but I'm definitely on the side of no, go right at him, going headstrong, calling him on the phone on the Holly, and just straight up saying,
Hey.
"Nah, son, I'm coming right for you." I was so for that, and like they could have a whole plan already planned out. Maybe they like it's a decoy. Maybe Mando goes in alone. Like they could still have surprise stuff going on. We don't know. We're gonna find out soon. I don't want to date the episode. We'll find out soon.
Well, this is probably not going to go up until the when the finale's out anyway.
Okay.
That or I'll post it late Thursday night so that it gets 4 views total in a week.
Yeah. That's
and
fair.
2 of those will be us.
Definitely check out our finale video after this one, of course.
It'll be linked in the description probably.
Link in the description.
So that was about everything I had in my notes anyway. Unless there was anything else you wanted to add, I want to get into our overall review and final.
I want to mention one more thing. It's like the ending scene. Cara Dune and Fennec. We saw a lot of girl power stuff in the sequels. We saw like Marvel does it. They had that one scene with all, but in my opinion, a lot of people didn't notice it, and that's what I liked about it. This is how you do girl power correct. We see Cara Dune and Fennec side by side, snipers, picking them off. He's like, "Oh, I'll take out the gunners." Bang, bang. Oh, there's one coming out. Bang.
Coordinated.
So good. And
dispatching them with ease.
They're not saying, "Look at these strong female characters." No, they're saying, "Look at these 2 people, individuals who happen to be women, doing powerful things." And in the sense that they don't address it, I think they address it even better.
You can have a powerful female character by making them a powerful character regardless of, and I don't mean powerful like super strong, I mean like a good character.
Yes.
You don't need to rely on gender. The character should not be good because of their gender, which is what I think Disney did not, and all these fans that, call you sexist if you don't like Rey come out of left field with this like, no, that's not what people are saying, But
and I think this is an example of how to do it right. I noticed that
Fennec is going to be in Bad Batch, so we'll get even more Fennec.
Even
that'll add even more to when you watch.
I'm all for it.
Yes. Okay, so now on to our ratings and review-ish. This
is always the hardest part.
This is definitely the hardest part. I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I also don't. I don't want to because I feel like it wasn't perfect, but at the same time, it was like pretty perfect. Like I watched it 3 times and I don't know, like it had great music as every episode does. It had great action scenes. It had great character growth. Not growth, but just, I guess growth. Yeah. Development.
Yeah.
Had great world building, like we saw with the Empire, like these Imperial characters and the people on the planet, the civilians. It had, not calm, but less intense, sort of not as much action, like the scene where they're talking at the table. That was really intense, but it wasn't like just people shooting blasters everywhere. Like you can have it through dialogue. The writing was great. I thought when there was action, it was great. Like Mayfeld's whole arc, and it was great at the end when he, just loses his mind and starts killing everything and blows up the Rhydonium just because he just wants to. The acting was great, as we talked about, like with Mayfeld and I forgot his name. The officer's name.
Phelan Hess.
Yes, them 2 at the table, as well as Pedro Pascal. Like the acting all around was great, and I'm struggling to find a reason to give it less than 10 out of 10.
Again, hardest part of the week. I'm gonna take this from 2 different views because again, I've thought about this because I knew this was coming. But I'm gonna say standalone episode. Like if I never watched a single episode of Mandalorian, this episode 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna liken this episode to, I forget the chapter, but it was in season 1. It was the other one with Bill Burr. Funnily enough.
Yeah.
But those 2 episodes are the only ones I've watched just in like its own thing multiple times. And I know I'm going to rewatch this. Maybe I'm a huge Bill Burr fan. I didn't even know it. But it's just the fact that like the acting so good. In the other one from season 1, it was just it was almost like a horror movie the way it was shot.
Yeah.
So good. They're 10 out of 10 television shows, but I'm going to knock them down. Or at least this episode, I'm going to knock it down to like a 9.5. Just in the story aspect, because this is like where the filler argument comes in, where we literally like technically we could just say, all right, we're gonna skip this episode. Oh, Mandalorian and Bill Burr, they found it out on the go, and now we're going right to the finale. So I get that, but if I'm recommending the show to someone who somehow has never seen Mandalorian, I'm saying this episode or the other Bill Burr episode, funnily enough, just because it's fantastic television.
Yeah, I mean, because it technically is. It's really filler. It's just a little bit of for Bill Burr's character, for Mayfeld to come back a little bit. You don't really need that for the story. If we really wanted to, we could have spent 5 minutes of the episode. It's like the back half of a mission where they're leaving an Imperial base with like the location, and then that takes up the first 10 minutes, and then they do something else. Because it is kind of filler. I guess I'm also gonna go 9.5. Just for the fact that not too much happens to really push the main story. It's a lot more world building and character building and extra stuff. But the central plot is not, obviously what they're doing is for the main plot, but the result of what they did is not so much. Really, all we got out of it is they know where Moff Gideon is, and Moff Gideon knows that they know where he is, which is pretty much the only big plot points that we got out of it. So I will also go 9.
I think that is a fair assessment.
These ratings will be irrelevant when we're ranking them, by the way. I'm gonna just throw them out there. I'm just gonna be like, this one's here, this one's 2, this one's... that will be coming, by the way. Once the finale comes out, we will be doing a ranking of every episode in the season.
I feel like once we have the full context of the season, it'll be easier to say, all right, this one was better, and it'll be easier to actually rank them now.
When I can binge the whole season.
Yes, exactly.
Because I definitely
will do.
Yeah. So, anything else you wanted to tackle on here before we close?
I just want to hammer it home because I'm very proud. Boba did not have a dad bod. I was right. Looked like a total Chad in this episode, and I feel like next episode gonna look even cooler. And I'm so for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Those are my closing thoughts.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our breakdown review of Chapter 15 of The Mandalorian. Got it right first try that.
There we go.
If you want to see our reaction, that will be linked down below, as well as our reaction to the finale. If you're watching this before the finale is out, then just wait a little bit, and it'll be there soon. If you're watching this in the future, you can check out the reaction to the finale episode, the discussion for that. We'll probably have the ranking up at that point too. So yeah, thank you for watching this far. If you're here this far, leave a like if you want. They help, because I see it'll be like midnight and I go check a video, it has 2 likes, and I quick go to text Paul, I'm like, we got 2 likes on this one. So it does actually, it does help a little bit.
We love it.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on the episode if you want. Anything you thought, your favorite part, your least favorite part, favorite character, I don't care. Tell me what color shirt you're wearing. Mine is gray.
I'm wearing black.
There you go. And we will see you in the next video. Goodbye. Salute.
Salute.
They can never tell when we salute.
Yeah, we do it anyway.
Always.